Hey guys, it's me Helena and welcome back to my channel where we talk all about astrocartography, astrology tools, and the cosmos. And in this video, I want to talk about SYNASTRY, or relationship astrology, and some of the key signs that can be really positive for a relationship. And I'm going to be sharing with you the top aspects in SYNASTRY that can just make for a wonderful marriage, a wonderful partnership, and make for an ease-filled relationship if that's something you're looking for. So before we get started, do note that I have a free astrocartography guide down below if you'd like to learn more about the astrocartography mistakes that are commonly made and how to fix them. And I also have a ton of free content, as well as I offer consultations and Hey Hero requests. So if you have any questions on your astrology, your birth chart, or astrocartography, I will include a link down below so you can get your questions answered. And I also offer a in-depth 7-week course program on locational astrology with over 26 hours of content, lots of learning and content in there. So if you want to be part of our astrocartography community, join our Facebook group and get all of that great information in my course, I'll include a link down below to that as well. All right. Let's get started with the SYNASTRY. So one of the first things that I'm looking out for when I look at two people's SYNASTRY, or I'm putting two people's birth charts on top of each other, is I'm looking for the North Node and South Node, the lunar nodes, and I'm seeing if they're conjunct any planets, because that can be a really cool thing for seeing past life connections if you believe in that sort of thing, which I do believe in past lives. So I am looking at the South Node for that. And anytime I see the South Node on a planet, that's going to give me a lot of information on familiarity or comfort within the relationship, a sense of comfortability, ease, and a sense of just feeling familiar and comfortable with someone. You can see here with my husband and my SYNASTRY chart, we both have our South Nodes exactly on each other's natal moons. My South Node is on his natal moon and vice versa, and they're very closely conjunct. There is just this sense of ease and this comfortability emotionally, our desires, our emotions, our hearts. There is that natural symbiosis, that ability to just feel very comfortable and ease-filled with each other. So when you're pulling up your SYNASTRY, be sure to see where the South Nodes are, where there's that comfortability, and see if you have any conjunctions with the other person's planets. If you believe in past lives, there can be a connection with that, with what the planet represents. And the next thing I'm looking at is the North Node, or Rahu, which is about volume up, the head of the dragon. It's insatiable, it's obsessive, and it is that energy of like, I can't get enough. I just want to chew on that thing. And that can be a little bit challenging for relationships because it shows that the North Node person cannot get enough of whatever planet that is conjunct in someone else's chart. For example, if you have your North Node on someone else's Mercury, natal Mercury placement in the SYNASTRY, that can show an ability, that can show a desire, an insatiable, obsessive desire within you to want to learn as much as you can from that person, whether it's gaining knowledge from them or wanting to talk or speak to them. There's that insatiable, like, I can't get enough of learning from you or speaking to you or understanding ideas from you. And this is something that I've actually noticed with some of my favorite teachers or YouTubers or podcasters is I have North Nodes often on those people's Mercuries. I just can't stop listening to them. I want to absorb all of their information, all of their content, and it's insatiable. So look to see if you have any North Node conjunctions or vice versa with your partner to see if there's any planetary North Node conjunctions there in the SYNASTRY chart. And the thing to know about the North Node is that there's almost this type of benefit. So the North Node person is benefiting from something that they're gaining from the person with the planet. For example, there can be a sense of too muchness or being taken advantage of, and the person with the planet conjunct the North Node, they can feel used or taken advantage of because that North Node person is just insatiable and chewing and trying to get as much from the other person. So North Node conjunctions they're not necessarily beneficial. A lot of people think that the North Node is like your dharma or your fate or what you're meant to do in this life. Really, it's just volume up. It's the intensity up, the obsession, the focus of your direction, which in some ways you can think of it as your fate in a way, because there's this sense of like you are so focused and going in that direction, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's always a good thing. The North Node also has its downside. sides. And the south node can feel very comfortable, ease-filled, but the south node is also apathetic and careless. There's always a pro and a con with the lunar nodes, and that's something to always kind of keep in mind. Another thing is Juno. Juno is an asteroid that represents marriage, settling down, your values in marriage, and partnerships, long-term monogamy and partnerships. And so if you have your Juno conjunct someone else's Juno, that is a really great sign for just your values are aligned with one another for marriage and a long-term partnership. My husband and I, we both have Juno in the same sign as in Libra. It's conjunct there in Libra, and so there is that nice harmonious marriage, or the values, we both have the same values. Another thing to look out for is trines, so having Juno trining someone else's Juno. I also like to look at sun-moon synastry to see if there is just this sense of like inspiration within partnership. When you have someone's moon on someone else's sun, there's the sense that the moon person feels very comfortable, or the desire to really embody what their heart desires, right? The moon is like our emotional heart, or what we desire, what we yearn for. When you have that person's moon conjunct someone else's sun, their natal sun, there's this ability to feel really seen, or to see that what you yearn for or aspire to is embodied in someone else. The sun person shines. So for instance, let's say you have a Taurus moon and someone else has a Taurus sun. There is that sense of like what you desire and what you privately yearn for, that sun person is completely embodying that energy in their life, and they're shining as it, and like there's that like public visibility, or just the being seenness, they're totally embodying that energy. And the moon person just feels like their needs are being met, or there's that inspiration that I aspire to this, and this person is literally living it. So there's kind of that inspiration with sun-moon synastry that can be really beautiful. My husband and I also have this synastry. His moon is in Taurus, and I am a Taurus sun. So there's another, so many of these we have, which is just insane. Here's an interesting one. Mars square Venus. This is hot. This is passionate. This is fiery. This is very sexy. This is an energy of just being like instantly attracted to each other, instant attraction. There's this sense of just seeing each other from across the room and just being like flames, like a moth to a flame kind of energy. Doesn't mean it will last. Mars square Venus doesn't necessarily mean there's a long lasting, enduring partnership, but it can just be mega attraction. If you do have other synastry aspects like Saturn aspects, which we'll talk about in a second, that can lead to more long-term commitment. But Mars square Venus, really nice to see for like a passionate love affair, or just people who are just really physically and just genuinely attracted to each other. And Sun trine Jupiter is a really nice balanced relationship. There's in harmony. There's this ease in long-term practical thinking and building the foundations for the relationship. But when it's trining Jupiter, there's that sense of being super balanced. Jupiter is the ability to dream, expand, wonder, hope, have faith, and go big. And Saturn is cutting down, paring down, and getting the details in place and the work and effort that's involved for long-term planning and legacy and contribution and building a foundation for the partnership. So when you have your Jupiter or someone's Jupiter trining the other person's Saturn, there's this ability to have fun together, but you're not overdoing it. There's a sense of really like what you're doing together pays dividends in the long run. So whether it's investments that you're making together, or buying a property and building that together and having fun renovating the home, and that ends up being a nice profitable long-term investment for the relationship, right? Like this is just a literal example of what this could manifest as, but there's this sense of like when you work together, there's a sense of joy and fun, but also abundance that comes from the hard work that you're putting in together. So I really like this for business partnerships, or just people who are just like power couple goals, people who are just teaming up together and making an abundant life for themselves. Moon trine Neptune is very imaginative and the height of romance. You know, when I think of like a dreamy, romantic, escapist couple that has this ability to be imaginative together. My husband and I also have this in our charts, Moon trine Neptune, but it's just this sense of like the ability to be light, easy, and to just be super romantic. Like the romance will not fade with moon trine Neptune. There's just this soaring romance that can just, it's like on cloud nine, really. Moon trine Neptune is also just highly intuitive. It's like you can read each other's thoughts. There's a psychic, telepathic communication there of just like, you can say something and then, or you'll be thinking something and then they'll say it 5 minutes later, or you'll look at them and they'll know exactly what you're thinking. There's an intuitive psychic link between you two. It's also just very gentle and overall very harmonious. Like day-to-day living can be very harmonious and very ease-filled when I see moon trine Neptune in a synastry chart. Obviously, the most obvious, I think, synastry aspect to see is Jupiter trine Venus. There's just an ability to be very fun together, like having a fun time. Could be too much fun. Don't have too much fun there. I mean, Jupiter trine Venus or Jupiter conjunct Venus is just this abundance, this excess of like fun, pleasure. Obvious example with the two benefics in astrology, the two most positive planets in astrology. When you see that trined, Jupiter is trining someone else's Venus. Love to see that in synastry. And this goes for conjunctions too. Like for instance, my husband's Venus is at 8 degrees Scorpio. My Jupiter is at 7 degrees Scorpio. So his Venus is right on my Jupiter. Just a playfulness, just a having fun, like just almost too much fun. You got to get some work done. But yeah, Venus on Jupiter is just really nice, ease-filled relationship. Another key thing for attraction is your Venus or the person's Venus on the other person's ascendant. Because the ascendant is the physical body of the person and it's also the identity of that person. The ascendant is you. And so for instance, I have my ascendant at 13 degrees Scorpio. That's me. I am Scorpio at 13 degrees. That's literally who I am. And my husband has his Venus at 8 degrees Scorpio. So while his Venus is literally on my Jupiter, natally, like conjunct, his Venus is also on my ascendant. So Venus, attraction, what it is you find beautiful. What are you attracted to? What is, something that entices you? It's Venus. It's beautiful, right? He is attracted to me, literally, because his Venus is on my ascendant. He is attracted, what he values. I'm the embodiment of that. So Venus on ascendant, really strong. You can see also in the synastry chart that he has his Pluto at 13 degrees Scorpio and my ascendant's at 13 degrees Scorpio. So there is just this obsessive like adoration and just like deep obsession with this person. And it can be very healthy. It doesn't have to be. I think a lot of people, when we think of obsession, we think of like a negative form of obsession. Some obsessions can be very healthy and just a positive, higher evolved version of obsession. And Pluto, when it's used in someone who has a healthy relationship with Pluto or they're, a highly evolved person, Pluto on someone's ascendant can be just like, they're just obsessively in love with you. Kind of a fun story. I am so attracted to Gemini rising people, rising specifically. I have my Venus in Gemini and I kid you not, every single time that I've looked up like my favorite YouTuber or my favorite influencer or like people I'm really like just like I'm drawn to them, I'll ask them for their birth information or I'll find a way to get their birth information somehow. And it's like, it's just insane. It's always Gemini rising people. I'm so like, I'm really like magnetically drawn to Gemini risings. There's something about that playfulness, that lightness of spirit that I just like, it's bizarre. Like even from childhood, like some of my favorite celebrities as a kid, as a teenager, Gemini risings across the board. And it is because my Venus is in Gemini. So what I am attracted to, what I hold value in, what is something that appeals to me instinctually is Gemini people. So Gemini rising specifically, because the rising, the ascendant is literally like the person. It's literally their physical appearance, how they come across, and just like their filter, like I'm just Gemini risings. It's so funny. Personally use a ton of asteroids when I'm doing astrology work. There's just so many asteroids and it's like when you're using all of them, it's like it's just a lot there. I don't use a ton of asteroids. The only ones I use are Chiron and Ceres. And when I'm looking at marriage synastry, I'm looking at Juno. But there's so many different asteroids that you can use. I use mainly the planets, but one other asteroid that I really do like to see in synastry is Ceres trining Venus. There's just this sense of being really like comfortable, or that kind of maternal, not even maternal, but that fertile, like homey, comfortable, like creating a beautiful domestic life or a beautiful life together, a settled life together. I'm looking at Venus trine Ceres. Ceres is the largest asteroid that represents grain, the harvest, agriculture, nature, earth, settling, cozy vibes. And so when I see someone's Venus trining that Ceres, that can be really nice to see as well. And lastly, I do like to see trines to Saturn, because Saturn is long-lasting commitments or enduring partnerships that can go the distance, that can stand the test of time. And so it's like, if you've got Venus square, you know, Mars, that can be a passionate love affair. Does it mean it will last? Not necessarily, unless you've got a, you know, some nice Saturn support there. So like, you know, Jupiter trine Saturn, or Sun trine Saturn, you know, things like that, where you've got positive aspects to Saturn, the planet of longevity and endurance and time. That's really, really nice to see for an enduring long-term partnership. I'm a very open person. I'm very open and honest and happy to share my birth chart information. So if you want to see my husband and my synastry, and he as well, he is also very comfortable sharing his birth chart, but I will share with you guys our synastry charts right here so you can see just how insane this is. This is a beautiful example of like just perfect synastry between two people. I've literally never seen charts like this in my life. I've seen so many synastry charts, and I've never seen synastry quite like me and my husband's. And I'm not bragging about that. I'm just like being straight up. Like, it's insane. Like, we were meant to be together. This is fated relationship, especially with those moon south node conjunctions. Like, geez, we both have our south nodes on each other's moons. How crazy is that? But I will include a synastry here. So if you wanted to learn something from it, because I find that, you know, sometimes looking at chart examples, it's one of the easiest ways to learn astrology and to kind of gather like data. So yeah, I hope that this video helps in understanding what are the best synastry aspects for relationship compatibility. So tell me, what synastry aspects do you and your partner have, or your best friend and you have, or someone close to you in your life? Do you have any of these synastry aspects that I've mentioned in this video? Do you have any of those with your best friend, your partner, your mom, the closest people in your life? I'd love to hear. Tell me down below in the comments. That would be really, really interesting to see. And I'm sending you such a big hug, and I hope you have a magical day and happy travels. Bye.